On this episode of Locked On Angels, the Angels salvaged the weekend and come away with a victory against the A's on Sunday, their 5,000th victory as a franchise. We're going to talk all about the weekend. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you want to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB. Use our promo code LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100.
Happy Monday to you, and thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Mike, the All-Star break is over, and so we're back to recapping every Angels game that's taken place, and we're here talking Angels baseball Monday through Friday, every single weekday in our third season here at Locked On Angels. On today's show, let's recap the weekend that was against the A's, the Angels' final series at the Oakland Coliseum, at least for the foreseeable future. That seems to be the plan, but who knows how it's going to go with this Oakland Vegas nonsense. But let's get into Friday's game. That was something, Mike. It was a 13-3 loss against the A's. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, the Angels coming into this game didn't have Logan O'Hoppe because his flight back to California following the break was delayed because of all of the nationwide flight cancellations. He was supposed to be in Frisco on Thursday at 6:30. He did land and he did get in uniform, but Wash held him out of the lineup because of all the stress of traveling the last 2 days. And they said he was available off the bench. And that would come into play in this game, Johnny, because there was a big moment where Matt Thaiss came up and he didn't come through. We'll get to that in just a second. But Griffin Canning was the starter out of the All-Star game. Mm-hmm. I was surprised by that move. Were you surprised by that move?
I was a little bit surprised by that move. I didn't understand why. It's kind of your opportunity to reset the rotation. And I guess you can reset it after this series with Tyler Anderson going tonight. Jose Soriano probably taking the next one. But Mike, this is just the state of the Angels rotation right now. It's in flux. I mean, we picked up Johnny Cueto, for goodness sakes, to have a warm body to throw pitches. Of course, he's in the minor leagues. He's on a minor league deal, but that's just the nature of the rotation right now. It's Mike, can you do it? You do it. You throw some pitches.
Yeah. Angels scored first in this game, and it was because Joe Adell, who had a really good weekend, had 4 hits, had a couple of walks, a couple of RBIs. He singled to right field. Zach Neto scored, and then he went to third on a throwing error. He was at third on a throwing error. Then the A's came back. They scored 2 in the bottom of the third off of Griffin Canning, and then the Halos responded in the 4th inning with Zach Neto's 13th home run, 107 miles per hour off the bat. Then the A's came right back in the bottom of the 4th. They took the lead on Brett Harris's single. He got a single, they took the lead, and then it was followed by a 3-run home run from Max Schumann. John, all of these names you have to look up in a baseball dictionary because you don't know who they are, but they crushed the Angels this weekend, didn't they?
Yeah, it's always the guy who's, he's hitting 162 this season, but against the Angels, he's 489, and that's usually how it goes.
1,000 OPS.
With every team, to be honest with you. I was happy to see Neto get his 13th home run of the season. Mike, 13 home runs as a shortstop. I'm all about it, dude.
Right.
Like, it's just this is everything we wanted out of Zach Neto this season. You mentioned Joe Adell's good game too. I thought he had some heads up base running there as well to get into third base at that point.
Yeah. Angels were down 6-2 at this point. That ended Canning's night. Johnny, 3 1/3, 6 hits, 6 earned, 1 home run, 62 pitches. The Canning that we saw on Friday was the same Canning that we saw before Friday, before the All-Star game. And we talked about like the Angels not resetting their rotation, but you're right. There kind of feels like there's a lot of things that are in flux. And then Canning came out of this game and he said he had a bit of like an elbow irritation when he was throwing his slider. And he said that's why he left the game. He could have pitched a little bit further, but he said every time he threw the slider, something was up with the elbow. They're not concerned about that injury, but it is something that we go, sure. Okay.
Yeah. Are we ever not concerned about
I don't know if we believe that, right?
Elbow issues and things like that. Well, at least, with Patrick Sandoval, you knew it right away, right? You could see that he was in pain and something went wrong there. With Griffin Canning, Mike, look, injury or no injury, I was holding my breath saying, hey, he got through the first inning without giving up a run, because I thought that was a great start to this second chapter. But you're right. It was the same Griffin Canning we've seen all along. Now, is the injury issue something that's been plaguing him for a while? I doesn't seem like it, because he's thrown stuff well before. He says that he was having trouble throwing sliders. Mike, it's the fastball. The fastball is useless with Canning, and it's a lot like how it was with Patrick Sandoval.
Absolutely.
Got him to get away from that and throw the sinking fastball even more often than the regular four-seam fastball. And I feel the same way about Griffin Canning's four-seam fastball as well. It's just, it's not impressive.
No.
Around. We'll have to dive into the numbers a little bit just to tell you what's not great about it. We can totally do that on a further conversation. But the fact of the matter is, Griffin Canning has been the same as he was just before the break, and I think that's going to be the issue moving forward.
What was your nickname for him on Friday? Good grief, Griffin.
And somebody read my mind, and it was Charlie Brown getting the ball hit back to him, and his shoes fall off and his hat falls off. And he's on the mat. And so that's how it felt with Griffin Canning. So I feel bad for him considering the injury, but at the same time, this is more of the same that we've seen from Canning. He came out at 3 1/3 innings pitch, but the fact of the matter is he could have gone 5 innings and still had the same results. So it's just more of the same for Griffin Canning. Fortunately, Ronci Contreras entered the game, was able to get out of that inning. The Angels did get one back in the bottom of the 6th. Nolan Shawnuel hits his 9th home run. Mr. No power Nolan Shawnuel hitting pitches high and up and hitting them to right field. I love it, Mike. By the way, it was a lefty home run for Nolan. The Angels trailed by 3 at this point. Kevin Pillar singled, followed by Zach Neto. That knocked out JP Sears, who got the start for the A's in this one. Jo Adell did have a chance with 2 outs. He walked to load the bases. You like seeing that more than striking out or
absolutely
grounding out. And then Matt Thaiss in the game again, because O'Hoppe had plane trouble. Thaiss rolled a ground ball to second. And that's when you said you would have liked to have seen Logan O'Hoppe there in the game. And he was there at that point of the game, Mike. But at the same time, this whole flight situation, thanks a lot, CrowdStrike and Microsoft.
That's why you need
I saw a great joke that said, all the trouble that Southwest had in 2022 with flights was because they were on the old system. And then they were like, look at us on the old system not getting affected by the new computer issue. So, talk about that. Matt Thaiss rolled into a ground ball. No Logan O'Hoppe to be found in that situation. He was in the dugout, but he wasn't in the game at that point, right?
Yeah, and it was a B-button swing, Johnny. It was the same Matt Thaiss swing that we see all the time, and he's just not a threat at the plate. And every once in a while, he comes through, and he'll hit the home run or he'll hit the double, but this is a situation where I would have loved to have seen Logan O'Hoppe up, and I get why he wasn't in the game, but I would have pinch hit. I would have brought somebody in at that moment, because you saw the game starting to get away, and eventually it did, because the A's got the run back in the 6th inning. They ended up taking a 4-run lead. Contreras leaves. Matt Moore comes in. Then there's a flare to left field that drops in front of Ward, and then Ward misplays it, and the ball goes by him, and the A's get another run. And Johnny, as I was watching this game, this is the question that I typed out. Ward's trade value plummeting? Yes. He's not being traded after this, right? I mean, it just seems like he's really hurting himself. In fact, he's one of the worst players since May 1st, Johnny. He's 8th on that list. His slash line is 200 batting average, 308 on base, 342 slugging, and a 650 OPS. And his WAR is 0.1. This guy is just not playing well right now. Looks completely lost. I know Sunday had a couple of hits and got on base, but it's really a couple of games where he's terrible, and then one game where it feels like an anomaly, right?
Yeah. I think if anybody's going to be interested in Taylor Ward, they know what they're going to get, right? And if you look at the underlying numbers, I know that he's not having a lot of success right now. Like you mentioned, Sunday was a good game for him. At the same time, the Taylor Ward that we know will come back around, whether it's for us, whether it's for somebody else. And look, we're going to end the season with, oh man, look at what Ward did. And it's kind of like the Hunter Renfroe thing, where we got excited about the number of home runs that he could bring to the team last season. And then when you really examine it under a microscope, you went, oh, they were mostly garbage time home runs. And I feel like that's going to be the same case with Taylor Ward is that, yeah, he'll get right. And I know he'll get right eventually. And the biggest thing has been kind of the yips, in a sense, with those pitches that are coming in high and tight at him. He bails out before the ball even gets to him. But the underlying numbers would suggest that he's going to be fine. It's not fun to watch. I don't know if his trade value is plummeting because he does have the years of control with him. So it would still cost something. Look, if the Angels can't get the deal that they want for Taylor Ward, there's no harm in keeping him around after this year because he still has years of control, and perhaps you build the value back up at the offseason. You know, maybe he does have a great September and the numbers do look good at the end of the season and we can fool some other teams. But at this point, I don't think that you need to worry about whether he moves or not, because the only reason you and I were hyped on moving him this trade deadline is because his numbers were good. He was doing well, but now, like you said, it's just not been impressive. So if the Angels can't get what they want for him, then I think you take what you have with Taylor Ward, save it for next time that you can move him.
He scored 7 total runs in that 6th inning, John. We've talked about watching this team and looking for moments of development, and there were some this weekend. We saw Hoppy and Neto get some hits, Kochanowicz getting some hits, some big hits. We'll talk about his Sunday game in the 3rd segment. But the problem in this particular game is there was no development from Griffin Canning. More of the same. And then, speaking of more, Matt Moore, he fell apart again. 5 earned runs in this one. And then we talked ad nauseum about Taylor Ward with his approach at the plate, but also his kind of looking lost in the field as well and letting that ball go by him. All around, it was a frustrating game when you're hyped, ready to watch your favorite team, and then they come out and just lay an egg. 13-3 against the A's, and the A's, who are just knocking a bunch of teams around offensively right now, really knocked the Angels around in this first game.
Yeah, you want to talk about losing trade value? Let's talk about Matt Moore, because the issue has been, I looked it up actually the other day. He's got a .210 batting average against, obviously not after this particular game. And at the time I looked at it, it was during the All-Star break. He had a .220 BABIP, Mike, meaning batting average on balls in play. So to me, that suggests a little bit of unluckiness in the sense that he's pitching to a good tune, and these averages against him are not that difficult to overcome, but he's given up a lot of home runs. He's surrendered a lot of runs that way. And so talk about trade value. I think Matt Moore is one of the pieces that another team would look to acquire, and the Angels should definitely trade him. And I think they still can. It's just, you're not going to get anything significant from him in a return. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. The Angels are playing the Mariners in Seattle, 6:40 Pacific time. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels. Coming up on Locked On Angels, we'll talk about Saturday and Sunday and how the Angels were able to battle back on Sunday and save the weekend. We'll get into all of that coming right up.
Everydayers Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members, and they need 5,000,001. So why don't you download Prize Picks today? It's the most fun and exciting way to get in on all of the action while you watch your favorite sports and favorite players, and get in on the excitement and win up to 100 times your cash this summer with games on Prize Picks. With Prize Picks, you can turn $10 into $1,000 while watching Team USA rack up gold medals this summer. You can make a Prize Picks lineup of players across basketball, soccer, tennis, golf, and so much more in as little as 60 seconds. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. Really easy to pick on the projections as well. They make it simple. They do it in halves. So even if you're not smart when it comes to soccer, or not smart when it comes to basketball, you can be smart on Prize Picks. Download the app right now. Enter our promo code LOCKEDONMLB. They'll give you a first deposit match of up to $100. Join Prize Picks today. Pick more, pick less, It's that easy.
And today's show is brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. If you're working on your car, eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. The Angels needed some eBay Motors on Friday and Saturday, and we'll talk about Saturday. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. They got over 122 million parts for your vehicle, and you'll find exactly what you're looking for every single time. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, they want you burning rubber, not burning cash. And with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your car, truck, or SUV alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, and this is Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. And thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Make your second listen Locked On Sports Today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed just for you every single day, bringing you the biggest stories in sports, like the WNBA Women All-Star Team beating Team USA. That was a whole lot of fun. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, they looked fantastic. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis. Look at me. I'm loving WNBA. It's so much fun. My daughter's got me in it. With news, opinions, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And the Angels are playing the Mariners tonight at 6:40 Pacific time. Tyler Anderson is on the mound, and you can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Mike, the A's ran away with the game on Saturday, like right from the outset, right? It was an 8-2 loss against the A's. They scored first again, a 3-run homer from Brent Rooker, who there's a trade target for you.
Right.
This guy, he's 30 years old. He's got like 3 more years of control. He's doing a lot of DHing, but I look at somebody like the Mets or even the Braves who need an outfielder and whatnot. This guy was an all-star snub, right, in my opinion. Not a stub, a snub. He was a snub in my opinion. But man, he was just crushing the Angels, and he got it started with that 3-run home run. The third inning, Adell walked, stole second, went to third on a throw down to first on a strikeout, and then he scored on a sac fly.
What an inning.
Anthony Rendon. Man, again, some heads-up base running from Joe Adell. You love to see it. You love to see the improvement from where he was, just 2 months ago to now. And this is why I think you don't give up on a 24-year-old who was a top 100 pick for the Angels at one point. And look, I said the other day that 190 batting average is not great, but after this weekend, starting to climb back up again.
Almost 200. We'll take it.
Hopefully he can get that somewhere before the season's out, because again, I think that we should assess him at the end of the season. So after the inning, Mike, Kochanowicz had to leave this inning or this game with left calf tightness. So Brandon Drury came in at that point to replace him over there at first base.
A lot of this happened this weekend. Fourth inning, Willie Calhoun doubled with 1 out, moved to third on a pass ball. O'Hoppe then struck out. Neto followed with a walk. Moniak lined out to first. A good chance to score, but nothing for the Halos. We saw a lot of that this weekend. Angels needed those runs because in the bottom of the fourth, the A's scored 4, Johnny, and they got out of the inning when the Angels threw out Butler, trying to stretch a double into a triple. And this was a game where Kochanowicz pitched. He was the starter in this game. And remember, he really struggled in his first outing, but said, I know what I need to fix and I know what I need to adjust. And in this game, didn't seem like he really fixed or adjusted too much, because 4 innings pitched, 7 hits, 7 runs, 3 walks, 74 pitches. Johnny, he looked good for a few batters, and then he would look awful for a few batters, right? Is he learning how to pitch, or is he just not ready for the big club?
I think it's interesting that he got the start against the Mariners last time he went out. And so you think, hey, their first place team, not anymore, their first place team, it's a tough matchup, right? And so you think, well, maybe the A's are a better matchup for somebody who's making his way up to the majors for the first time. And so to answer your question, learning how to pitch, I don't know. The 3 walks over 4 innings is still tricky. Like you said, he would lose control. That to me, Mike, is not a learning how to pitch thing. That's I think you're not ready yet. You need to have more command if you're going to be up in the majors. And we laugh at that because the exact reason why Reed Detmers is down in AAA is to work on that command.
Right.
And he's been in the league for 3 years now. So yeah, I think with Kochanowicz, it just might be a case of too much too soon. I think that, look, they need warm bodies, and that's what they're doing at this point. That we're going to see a lot of this for the remainder of the season. This is where let's bring up Kochanowicz, give him a look, and see what we can do. But to me, it's just it says he's not ready. There's too many control issues that he needs to manage at this point. So whether he stays, whether he goes, I don't care. Because I'm not looking for, we got to win more games.
Right.
Because that's just not going to happen this season. It really depends on what they think is best for him. I think the best for him right now is going back down to the minor leagues, but I'm not sure what they're going to do with him.
Yeah. Gooby pointed out on the TV side that Kochanowicz, when he was throwing his splitter and when he was throwing his change, that it was leveling out, and it was all about how it was coming out of the hand and how the wrist
mechanics.
Right? And it's mechanics, right? And when you're 6'7", you have to have your mechanics down. Now they did give him a nice comp. They said he looked kind of like Roy Halladay. And it was nice, by the way, to have Matty V in the booth. And Matty V said he looked like Roy Halladay. And there is a similarity there. However, Halladay was able to command his stuff. And that's what Kochanowicz had and then would lose and then would find again, right? That was kind of both of his starts were like, wow, that's a really good splitter. That's a really good change. And then, well, that's a flat BP changeup that was a fastball at 91 miles an hour that they're crushing. And Brent Rooker did that in this game.
He was less Roy Halladay and more Roy, I got to go to work today, Roy Workday, because that's what it felt like.
That was a good try. That was a good try.
Kenny Rosenberg came in, allowed 1 earned run in 4 innings of long relief, a much better outing from him because they basically had the same approach the last time Kochanowicz pitched, and Rosenberg took over, and he struggled against the Mariners as well. So for him to finish out this game, kind of give the bullpen some rest, even though it was after the All-Star break. Look, it was a garbage time. Hey, just get us to the end of this game and we'll try to make a comeback. It was the Jose Suarez role for somebody who actually did what they were supposed to do. 4 innings pitched, 1 earned run for Kenny Rosenberg.
Angels followed that inning with a 1st and 2nd and nobody out. And again, here's what happened. Double play from Rendon, and then Drury pops out on the first pitch. And it was just as quick as they were threatening. It was that quick when it was over. The Angels did get 2 more on in the 6th inning and had at least 2 men on base in the last 3 innings, and yet weren't able to get anybody across until this inning. Ward walked, Ohapi singled, and then with 1 out, Neto had a chance and hit an RBI double, so he came through. Again, mentioned this on the show a couple days ago. I get excited when Neto and when Ohapi are at the plate and there's runners on because those guys are starting to really come through. Pilar pinch hits for Moniak. He pops out. Runner doesn't tag because of a good throw from Andujar. And then Adell grounds out to the pitcher. And then there was really no real threat after that. And the Halos lost this game 8-2, Johnny.
Yeah, that's about all you can say is the pitching is the biggest issue right now. And they have one capable starting pitcher. They have a guy in Jose Soriano who's figuring things out, and he's kind of hit and miss. So I'm assuming we'll see him tomorrow night. But this is what you get when you don't have the pitching that you need, and the guys that you were expecting to do great things get hurt, or they regress, or they're having trouble, and they have to go and work on things. This is the result of that, and this is why a team like the A's can just pile on the runs whenever they decide to.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, and we love FanDuel because even when the Angels aren't playing, we're able to still stay engaged with all the sports. They allow you to stay engaged in any sport at any time, at any place. Got to download this app. It's so much fun. All you got to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime that you're in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up every single one of their customers with a boost or bonus daily. So you just log in, find out what the boost or the bonus is. They have something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of this summer. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. The Angels on Sunday's game, they started and that was a game where they actually looked pretty good, right, John? They won 8-5.
Yeah, they got their 3,000th win in the very last
5,000.
game. 5,000. Sorry, 5,000. Even
I
better.
choose 5,000.
It's what's gotten our people through all the plight of 3,000 years. 5,000. 5,000. Even better.
Even better.
Their 5,000th win as a team, Mike, the first expansion team to be able to do that, and it was the last game they'll ever play at the Oakland Coliseum. And like I said, TBD on that because this whole thing is a mess. We do know that they're going to be in Sacramento and they're going to be ATH as their abbreviation. Is it fair to say the A's are sorry, inappropriate. This was a fun game, but it didn't start out that way. Like you mentioned, game started how yesterday's game ended. The Angels got runners on first and second with one out. They didn't score.
Right.
Carson Fulmer started in this one and got into some trouble in the bottom of the first, but he was able to get around that. One out and runners on and second and third. He got Rooker and Langeliers to strike out. Pitcher-friendly strike zone in this one. So he had a little bit of help, and not just for Carson Fulmer, but for Joey Estes too. Now, the A's did score again. Bottom of the third, J.J. Bleday hit an RBI double, followed by a second RBI double by Brent Rooker. The A's got another crooked number in this inning, and then at this point, they led by 2 going into the fourth.
Yeah, fourth inning, the Angels loaded the bases with one out. Drury had a 9-pitch at bat, which was probably one of the best at bats I've seen him have since he's come back. Hit a sacrifice fly. Angels trailed by 1, and then with 2 outs, Joe Adell, who did have a good weekend, he strikes out looking on 3 pitches, so it wasn't a great at bat for him, at least in this moment. Angels did tie the game. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, was it that high strike or that? I guess that high strike came later on because he got away with one later on in the game. So that zone though is just nobody could get it. Not the A's. Like
it was all over the place.
Even Shea Langeliers who got rung up, looked at the umpire and was just like, "What are you doing?"
Right, right. Angels tied the game in the 5th inning on a solo home run, first pitch. Solo home run from Mickey Moniak, and then they went back down on the bottom of the 5th when Andujar hits a solo home run, and that ended Carson Fulmer's day. 4 2/3, Johnny, 5 hits, 3 earned, 2 walks, 3 Ks. Not a bad spot start for Fulmer. He did the same thing in his last start, 4 2/3. He struck out 7, and then Hunter Strickland entered the game. He got out of the inning, but I thought Carson Fulmer was good enough in this game, and at least ate up some innings for the Halos.
We're going to see a lot more, I think, of Carson Fulmer getting starts as through the remainder of the season, to be honest with you. And Mike, we talked about it the other day. He's a former number 1 pick and of the White Sox, and he's been decent out of the pen. But these last 2 games where he's come out to start the game, not a lot of length, obviously. You got to kind of build to that. At the same time, for the situation that the Angels are in, I think Carson Fulmer was perfectly adequate, right?
Yeah.
He ate up, those 4 2/3 innings, 3 earned runs, 3 Ks. I really think that had some, things gone his way, it could have been a little bit better. Maybe he could have gone through 5, but you can't complain about somebody who, again, was not projected to be part of your bullpen or your starting rotation, jumping in there and eating innings the way that Carson Fulmer has done. Mike, the Angels had another chance in the 6th inning, and they left 2 on again after that. That was the A's got 2 runs in the 7th inning, and the Angels had a great chance in the top of the 8th. This time, they actually delivered. The bases were loaded. No outs for Joe Adell. He walked and got an RBI. It was a good at bat, and that was the high strike that was iffy.
Yes.
The call went his way.
Yes.
So it made it a 2-run game at this point. Kochanowicz pinch hit and got the RBI on an infield single for having a calf strain. He certainly hustled.
He hustled.
He
really hustled.
Run. No chicken wing run like I complain about all the time.
Yeah.
That made it a 1-run game. Rendon grounded into a fielder's choice. Could have been an easy double play, but Rendon,
he hustled.
He also hustled.
Yeah.
Right. And so it wasn't the result that he wanted, but it did score the run. The Angels were able to tie it. Kevin Pillar just missed a home run. It bounced off the top of the left field wall. So it was a 2-run double. He went to third on the throw home, and they tried to get him out. And initially the call was out, but he did a little swim move and was safe. And so the Angels led by 2. They were not able to get Kevin Pillar home at that point. So the Angels took the lead there, led by 2. The Angels added a run in the 9th on a wild pitch that led to a 3-run lead. Carlos Estevez comes in for his 18th save, and then the 5,000th win for the Angels in franchise history. Thoughts, Mike, on this last game in the Coliseum? What do you say?
I was thinking about all of the games that the Angels played against the A's in the early 2000s. That's when it was really a whole lot of fun. Actually, it wasn't fun because whenever we would play the A's, it was always intense. And I'm thinking of Eric Chavez, and I'm thinking of, the three-headed monster that they had, Barry Zito and Tim Hudson, right? Yeah. They had just a really great pitching staff. And those seasons were so much fun. And then I'm thinking about when they won 20 plus in a row, but the Angels still were the better team and won the World Series that season. So I'll miss some of those high intensity games. Angels A's always seem to be very, very close and very, very exciting. So I'll be hopeful that they can turn it around and the Angels can turn it around where we're playing some meaningful games in the middle of the summer. But to see the Coliseum go, I'm tired of the long foul territory. I'm tired of that whole state. They were talking on the broadcast yesterday just about pitchers who are free agents they should want to come here because you could save a couple of earned runs. And I'm like, no, you don't, because you have to pay for your own soda. At least that's what Moneyball movies said that you had to, but why would you come to the A's? Because you're not going to get paid if you come here. And even if you are a good pitcher, you're probably not going to get some offensive production behind you, although this team seems to be great right now. But it was sad to see the A's and the state of affairs that the A's are in, but it was great to be able to pick up a win from this weekend.
The biggest thing for me is it's not about the location in terms of the stadium. It's being in the city of Oakland and the people there who love their team. And I would certainly hate for the Angels to be ripped away like that. Right. And so I have a lot of empathy for A's fans. And to be honest with you, we've talked about this before. It's a baseball problem. This is an issue with baseball and ownership. And it's not something if you're a fan that should encourage you and to just be like, well, we're leaving, we're out of here. Yeah. And it's really a shame they didn't get that new stadium to happen. It's really a shame that none of that came together. So I really wish that you're right. I wish they could get back to the epic rivalries of the 2000s and even the 2010s. Like the Angels played some great baseball against the A's and vice versa. And so I hope that these two teams can finally be relevant again with an owner who doesn't want to spend money and an owner who wants to move his team because he also doesn't want to spend money. So we're in great shape as A's and Angels fans.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. The Angels play the Mariners tonight, 6:40 Pacific time, and you can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to YouTube, find today's episode, get in the comments section, hit that like button and subscribe button on the way down there. It's the best way to get into the conversation with us. Mike, what do we have on deck for Tuesday's show?
Sounds like Trouty's supposed to be back on Thursday. So we're going to discuss if that even matters. Does that change anything? We're going to share some of our fan thoughts tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
All right, looking forward to that. We hope you'll come back and join us again. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Tuesday.
The wallpaper is awesome.
Rocking the wallpaper, baby. My father-in-law's office.